This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-made, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-made, no rain from the...
New Japan's Windy City Riot. And I thought it was a very good show. They had like over 6,000 people there in the Wintrust Arena in Chicago. It was the biggest stateside New Japan event that they've ever promoted themselves. They did the co-joint event with Ring of Honor at Madison Square Garden WrestleMania weekend that one year, but outside of that, this was the biggest that they've ever done, because they did American Airlines Arena a couple times, but they were like around 3,000-4,000 in there, and it looked bad. And they also did the Cow Palace again. It was like 3,000 or 4,000. So they went to Chicago, Wintrust, and they did over 6,000 with John, obviously with a lot of help from AEW. You know, Jon Moxley was in the main event. They had Jack Perry on the show. Eddie Kingston was on the show, and of course they had a couple of TNA stars. They had freelance stars, but they're still on TNA. They had the X Division champion Mustafa Ali, and they also had Nick Nemeth on the show. So. It was a very good show. Like, as far as like their New Japan stateside stuff, since they've created New Japan Strong, this was the best produced. Like, the video quality was great, the audio quality was great. I wish they would have lit the arena because they had so many people, but they didn't light the arena, so it was very dark. But it was a better produced show than you will see on TNA by far, or MLW or NWA. And honestly, from what I have seen the last couple of years, they were typically worse, right? They would use like the cheapest production equipment possible for these New Japan of America shows, and they were always pretty, like, the shows, like the wrestling was always very good, but they were just unwatchable. But you can tell they've actually put some money into this, and they've hired a good crew, and it looked very good. And you Walker Stewart and Chris Charlton, and then they had Veda Scott. Veda Scott was not very good on this. Honestly, I thought she was pretty bad. I did not enjoy her commentary on this one, and I know that it's kind of mean to say that, but she just wasn't very good. I didn't think. I thought she actually broke up the good vibe between Walker and Chris Charlton. Like, she just kept interjecting herself, and I just didn't think she had anything to add. And then I just don't think her voice was very good. I don't know if there's something going on with her voice, but I mean, she actually sounds like what she normally sounds like, but it just didn't work for this. I just didn't think she was any good. So, you guys can cancel me for that if you want, but I'm sorry, she wasn't any good. So, but I thought the show was very good. I watched, I should probably pull up the results, but I did get to watch a good bit of it. And I was really impressed with how they did everything, and obviously really impressed with the ticket sales they were able to do and the matches they were able to put together. They did very good. But let's see. Let's go to live results. I'm not going to do a full blow by blow, play by play, but I just want to pull up the live results just so I can remember, because as you guys know, my memory is not very good. First match was Matt Van Griff defeating Zane Jane. I did not watch that, but I did watch Alex Windsor and Trish Adora defeat Mina Shirakawa and Viva Van. I thought this was pretty good, and Windsor got the pin to Van to win the match. So, which pays off a little bit later, as we're about to get into. Then Ren Narita defeated Minoru Suzuki. Man, Suzuki just cannot win to save his life. But look, he's coming up on 60 years old. So, but again, this was pretty good. But they're trying to push Narita, and I get it. Narita is one of their young talent on the come up. So, and then we go to New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Stephanie Vaquer defeats Azumi, AZM for you novices out there. And I thought this was a very good match. Stephanie Vaquer could be a big star. So could Azumi, but Stephanie Vaquer could absolutely be a huge star in the States if she were to get picked up by one of the bigger companies, which I think is probably going to happen sooner rather than later. I think she's CMLL. I'm pretty sure she's CMLL. But after the match, Alex Windsor, who got the pin earlier in the tag match, see booking, Met Vaquero in the ring to challenge her for the strong title. Vaquero accepted and setting the match up for the next show in, I believe in May, called Resurgence. So then we get to the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Championship. TMDK of Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes defeated the Guerrillas of Destiny, which Tama Tonga is no longer in it, nor is Tongaloa. It was El Fantasma and Hikuleo. And Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler's a team in the West Coast Wrecking Crew of Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. I'll be honest, I was not a big fan of this match. I just wasn't, but TMDK holding the tag titles. That's kind of cool. They were big in Noah before they signed with the WWE, and they went to WWE, and the career kind of died. There was a lot of injuries happened, and the team broke up. And then, once they both got their releases, they've been in New Japan, and they haven't really done much. They haven't. But here they are as the New Japan Strong Tag Team Champions. Those kind of like their C-level titles. So now we got to get into which was the most compelling match of the show by far. And it was Shota Umino defeating Jack Perry. Now, remember, they're in Chicago. So Jack Perry comes out, and he's wearing a Chicago flag, and he's got a jacket on, and on the back of the jacket it says Cry Me a River. And this crowd just ate it up. And honestly, JD was in the crowd, and he said it was like 50-50 because people liked the antics, right? And they were a little bit on his side. And then the CM Punk faithful were booing the shit out of him, saying all kinds of vile stuff, and he was eating it up. Now, could this ultimately lead to like a Jack Perry push in AEW? Well, I think he's going to get a push. He's probably going to go join the Young Bucks. In fact, I would not be shocked to see him join the Young Bucks next Sunday night at Dynasty and help them win the tag titles over FTR. I think that's happening. But this match was so compelling because of, Perry's interaction with the audience and how hot they were for the match. Cause he was like, for the most part, a heel, like a chicken shit heel, and the crowd ate it up. But then there was a lot of people that supported him. There was even they were singing the song, "Oh, Cry Me a River." So that song was going on in the audience. And then there's a big chant of, "You got choked out." And then the other folks would counter with, "No, he didn't." And he did not get choked out. He got his head squeezed for a couple seconds. So there was that. He ended up trying a go to sleep on him, and that got a ton of heat. But here's the problem with it. It worked in Chicago. It's probably not going to work anywhere else, right? Now they're going back to Chicago. AEW is going back to Chicago several times this year. So could that like be his gimmick? Hey, I'm in Chicago. I'm going to get heat. Or is he going to have to do something more interesting? And does he have the charisma to be more interesting in other places, right? Like it worked here. This was like, hey, the CM Punk interview was 2 weeks ago, and AEW pulled their stunt on Dynamite this week, so it's still fresh in everybody's minds, right? Can he do the anti-CM Punk gimmick everywhere, and can he make him some money? I don't see that. And you're also, if he's going to go around doing anti-CM Punk stuff and the scapegoat stuff and all that stuff, you're trying to build to a match with a guy that you're not ever going to have a match with, right? So how does that translate into business for AEW going forward, right? Are you going to have FTR defending the honor of CM Punk, who in AEW is a heel, and FTR is the baby faces, right? Like that doesn't make sense. So it's short-term success, and it was very successful for this show. Will it pay dividends everywhere else? He's probably going to return to AEW in St. Louis. St. Louis and Chicago are rival cities. The Cardinals hate the Cubs. Cardinals fans hate Cubs fans. When he goes there, he might actually be a babyface, right? So what's that dynamic going to look like? I don't know. We got to see. I don't know what the plans are going forward. But right now he's building to a match that ain't never going to happen. He's getting heat in Chicago, and that's fine. But can he get heat anywhere else? That I don't know. Because what that video showed to me is he's a little bit of a chump, right? He talked some shit and got pushed around a little bit, and that was it. So, but can he carry the chicken shit heel stuff and make it work? I think maybe he could. I still know he has the charisma to pull it off everywhere else. It didn't take much for him to get heat in Chicago. It was very cheap stuff. And I applaud it. It worked. Like if you can go for it, make it work, go for it. And he did. but can it work anywhere else? Remains to be seen. I do think when he shows up in St. Louis for Dynasty, it's probably going to get a big pop though. After the match, Perry offered Umino a handshake, and Umino accepted. So yeah, he looks like he's very much done with New Japan, and he's going to be heading back to AEW imminently. Then Mustafa Ali defeated Hiromu Takahashi. So X Division champion Mustafa Ali defeated Hiromu Takahashi. I found this to be a very good match. Ali's super over in Chicago, which bodes well for Against All Odds coming up in Cicero Stadium. That should be helpful for TNA to draw there, because this crowd was all over. They're eating up Ali, and Ali was kind of playing the heel, but they were it's his hometown, so they were cheering for him. But a very, very good match. Ali even bled a little bit, and then after the match, Takahashi had a new Daryl doll that was like filled with muscle. It was like a jacked up Daryl doll, and they shook hands. Yeah. Oh, also after the match, as Takahashi was leaving, Ali was holding his X Division title, and he looked at Takahashi and was pointing the X Division title, and Takahashi shook his head. I think that match is coming to TNA at some point. That is if TNA and New Japan are still working together, because if you notice, ABC, they have not been using the Bullet Club stuff since the beginning of the year, honestly. And I think they did it Hard to Kill, but I think like shortly after Hard to Kill, that was over. And they're actually about to break up. So they have not been using Bullet Club branding in a while, and they're about to break up the tag team. And we've seen Kevin Knight on TNA, but we have not seen any other New Japan stars in a while, because she just signed with Impact or signed with TNA. So yeah, I don't know if that relationship is still kind of, as strong as it once was. So we'll see. We'll see. People will say, oh, well, Ali and Nemeth are on the show. Ali and Nemeth are freelancers. So, but it would be cool to see Takahashi on TNA. And then we go to Gabe Kidd, Kenta, Clark Connors, and David Finlay. The Bullet Club defeated Eddie Kingston, TJP, Jeff Cobb, and Homicide. Team Kingston. This is just a big, big fun brawl. Did all kinds of stuff, forks and all kinds of nonsense. Craziness ensued. Bullet Club wrapped the chain around Kingston, setting up something for Diabolical. Homicide tried to make the save, but Finlay cut him off with a shillelagh strike, and Kidd then hit Homicide with a pile driver to win the match. After the match, Kingston initiated another brawl. Both teams continued to fight for quite a while. So just chaos. Once teams were separated, Kingston challenged Kidd to a no ropes last man standing match for a resurgence. So they're keeping this feud alive. And then we go to one of the best matches of the night, surprisingly. New Japan World Television Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. defeats Matt Riddle, the champion. So Tanahashi beat Zack Sabre Jr., then Riddle beat Tanahashi, and Zack Sabre Jr. then beat Riddle. So they've been bouncing this title around a little bit. There hasn't been much blowback to Riddle, like being in New Japan, but a lot of the New Japan fans don't want him there. I would not be surprised if Riddle was gone, honestly. Just my gut. I could be completely wrong. He could be announced for a resurgence already, but Riddle. So, and another reason is because Riddle lost, right? And it was a roll-up victory. But it was a very good match. Like, I loved this match. I thought this match was incredible. One of the best matches I've seen all week. But after the match, Riddle rolled out of the ring and then just boom, just walked out unceremoniously, and it looked like he was done with New Japan. That was my gut watching it live. And they didn't even really like kind of acknowledge his reign or anything like that. Like, they just went right into the next thing. And once Riddle was gone, Jeff Cobb came into the ring and challenged Zack Sabre Jr. So it looks like that's going to be the next challenger. But yeah, it looks like Riddle is gone there. I'll be honest, I would not be surprised if he heads to TNA. I think he's been wanting to go there. I think TNA was waiting to see if there would be a big social media protest for Riddle in New Japan, and there just really hasn't been. Although a lot of New Japan fans don't like him. They don't like the fact that he beat Tanahashi. And up until this point, he has not been impressive, but I did think that this was like his best match in New Japan. So, but looks like he is done. And then we go to Nick Nemeth defeating Tomohiro Ishii, and which was a very good match too. I love this. This was an Ishii match, and I think Nemeth having an Ishii match bodes well for Nemeth. This was one of his better matches that he's had since he's been out of New Japan. Now, I'll be completely honest, I have not watched his indie stuff, so I can't tell you if he's had good indie matches, but I can tell you about his stuff in Impact. He's had some pretty good matches. And this match right here with Ishii is the second best match that he's had that I have personally seen since he has left WWE. The first one being with Steve Macklin, and I'm not kidding. Macklin, that was the best match that he's had since he's left WWE. It's the best match he's had in years, honestly. This one did not beat it, but I still thought it was very good. And me comparing it to it and putting it right up there is a high compliment from me. So I did love the match. But Nemeth got the Danger Zone to pin Ishii. And then we go to the main event. Jon Moxley defeated Tetsuya Naito in a bloodbath. Well, I mean, Moxley was bleeding, of course. At one point, Naito hit Moxley with a chair, and he was bleeding all over the place because it's Moxley. Moxley likes to bleed. That's what he does. But very good match. Great way to end the show. Send the crowd home happy. A lot of New Japan fans are worried that an AEW wrestler is now their champion, and I get it. I understand it. But I think that New Japan fans are not willing to acknowledge the fact that New Japan is on its ass right now, and they need to do something to pick up business. And it looks like Jon Moxley is committed to New Japan at this point. I'm sure he's still going to be in for the major AEW shows, but AEW took Ospreay, they took Jay White, I say took, their contracts were expired and they signed them. If they did not sign them, then WWE would have signed them. Okay. So it wasn't like this was a raid or anything, but we got to face facts. A lot of the biggest stars in New Japan left New Japan to go to AEW. That's what happened. New Japan's on its ass. The economy is not good in Japan. And so now Tanahashi and the New Japan leadership had to make a decision. So they worked out a deal, and now they have brought in Jon Moxley, who has been working there since he left WWE. So it's not like it's like I know he's signed with AEW, but it's not like he's not a New Japan guy. He has been working New Japan since 2019. He's been in New Japan for a long time. And he is the former New Japan, I think, a United States champion and all that. So now he's the IWGP champion. I'll be honest, I was not that impressed with Naito. In this match and what I've seen of Naito this year, I've not been impressed. He's beat up, he's out of shape, and he just can't go the same way he used to. And so they're bringing in Naito, hopefully, and hoping it'll pop business. Clearly, it pop business in the States, having Moxley as champion. Can it do the same in Japan? That I don't know. But those fans know Moxley very well. So this isn't like what happened with TNA, where Kenny Omega just shows up and wins the title, and then he doesn't drop it back to a TNA guy. He drops it to Christian Cage. And then Christian Cage comes in and drops it, and we just never hear from him again. I don't think that's this, because Tony Khan and New Japan have a partnership, and I think Tony Khan understands by him signing all those people, he really, really hurt his partner. Not on purpose. I think it was a necessity. He had to sign them. It was a necessity. If he didn't, they were not going back to New Japan. Okada straight up said, I'm not going back. I'm going to the States one way or the other. And if AEW didn't sign him, WWE is going to, right? So I think this is kind of like a, hey man, look, you guys are on your ass. Let me send you Moxley. And Moxley was probably cool with it, right? Likes to go to Japan anyway, likes to work that style. So it looks like he's going to be in Japan for a little while. I'm sure we'll see him at the big shows for AEW, but he is the New Japan guy for the time being. And maybe this is the way to get Yota Tsuji over. I don't know. Because I think eventually Yota Tsuji's got to win this title, because he's like their next guy coming up. But I hope it doesn't end up happening what happened before, with what happened with Impact, where Kenny Omega got too beat up because he was working both schedules, and he was working AAA at the time, and he didn't drop the AAA title to a AAA guy, and he didn't drop the Impact title to an Impact guy. he just handed over the AAA title, and he got screwed out. I mean, he essentially got screwed out of the Impact title for Christian Cage, and then that was it. We never saw Kenny Omega again, right? So I don't think that's going to happen with this. I could be wrong. I mean, yeah, could Moxley end up getting hurt and then have to just give up the title and never lose it to a New Japan guy? Yeah, that could happen. I hope not. That could happen. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing ends up and plays out. But New Japan is in a tough spot right now. As far as Forbidden Door coming up, Forbidden Door, people are more excited about CMLL versus AEW because all of New Japan's stars are now in AEW. Right? So New Japan's going to be sitting in the cuck chair for that one. They're on the outside looking in. And now their champion is an AEW guy. It's like Forbidden Door, New Japan versus AEW does not look interesting. They have to bring in, now they're bringing in Stardom and they're bringing in CMLL. It's no longer an AEW versus New Japan show. Like those days are over because New Japan doesn't have anything to offer at this point, as far as name value goes. The biggest name person they have in their company right now is Jon Moxley, and he's signed to AEW. So that's just the way it is. You know, people calling it AEW Japan. I get it. I get it. But I'm looking at it practically. I don't know if New Japan has any other options at this point. And maybe he'll get Yota Tsuji over. Maybe. I don't know. Could be. But hey, guys, that's going to do it for me this week on this episode of Brace for Impact. Thank you for sticking around listening to my New Japan stuff. I really appreciate it. And as I watch different shows, you know, MLW, if I, you know, next time I catch it, I'll try to do it during a Brace for Impact, especially on a week where there's not much to talk about with Impact. But yeah, that's going to do it for me this weekend. Until next time, mahalo.